Hey, it's Amy. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about winter running and more specifically running fast in the winter. Recently, it's been quite a struggle running fast in the cold. My legs have felt like dead weights and I just haven't been able to hit the paces that I really want to do. At first, it felt like I was the only one struggling and everyone was doing just fine. After talking to other running friends, I know I'm not alone. But then it made me ask, why does this happen? Why is it so hard to run fast? But before I dive into why it's hard to run fast in the winter, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button as it really helps out my channel when you do. And if you don't want to miss out on any video that I upload, click that bell icon too. So let's talk about running fast in the winter. Say my favorite temperature to run in is around 10 degrees Celsius. You get to wear long sleeves and shorts or even just like half tights. It's the best. This weather around 10 degrees or even a little lower is my favorite time to race in too, as the temperature, you just feel so fast. Or at least I do. All of my best races have happened when it's been just a little cooler out, but not too cold. However, if you live in Canada or just a cooler place around the world, then you know you're gonna have to run in sub 10 degrees weather. So let's first talk about why it's hard to run fast in the cold. Our bodies do an amazing job of regulating our temperature, whether it's generating heat because it's cold out or getting rid of the heat because it's super hot out. When we move and exercise, we produce heat which is then transferred to our core. This is why I always recommend dressing like it's 10 degrees warmer outside than it actually is. Because you might be initially cold at the beginning of your run, but by the middle or when you get going and running, you're gonna get warm, and if you overdress, you're gonna be drenched. There's nothing worse than being like super overheated, and then you could even get a chill from that and get sick. So I always just like to think it's a little warmer outside than it is. When the temperature drops, our body works a little harder to keep our internal organs warm. One of the ways it does this is that it redirects blood flow going to our extremities. So because there's less blood flow going to our extremities, obviously still some, it means there's less oxygen going to our muscles in our extremities like our legs. Our blood vessels also restrict in the cold, which prevents blood flow and oxygen to our muscles as well. The chemical reactions that produces the muscle contractions works best in the warmth. Did anyone see the 100 meters complain in Tokyo when it's super hot? They were very excited because they knew they could run really fast. Everyone else below that was dying in the heat, I'm very sure. And if you've noticed, a lot of the track races happen kind of in the spring and fall and not really in the winter because it's hard, again, to run fast and get your muscles going in the cold. I'm not saying that you should just give up, not run outside, and no one can run fast in the cold. I'm just suggesting it might be a little harder to run fast, that's all. For me, when I get below 15 degrees Celsius, that's when I really start noticing how not good I feel running fast. There's a lot of factors that also make me feel slow, but also is wearing all of the layers and clothes for winter running, and it just makes me feel like I'm 15 pounds heavier and just, yeah, very heavy. But if you think about it as resistance training, and as soon as you start taking those layers off when you get to warmer outside, you're gonna be so fast, or I'm gonna feel like, pew, gone. Colder temperatures can also cause the muscles to tighten and not move as fluidly. This can also shorten our stride length if we're not able to have a full range of motion, especially if we're worried about our footing. I've already fallen once this winter and it's not fun, so I'm really cautious of where I run, and sometimes, yes, it's better to kind of shorten your stride and keep your body or your feet underneath your body so it helps you stay upright and not do a nosedive like I did. Okay, before you think, that's it, I'm not running outside in the winter, let me suggest that there are some really great benefits to running outside in the winter, and doing speed workouts too. I really believe that you become a stronger runner both physically and mentally when you run in the winter and cold weather. Through the winter, we have to run through the toughest, hardest, most brutal conditions. When you run through these tough conditions, you're not only getting stronger physically, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but you also get tough mentally. After pushing through these hard conditions, you are going to crush your spring race because you've already gone through awful moments running, and you can apply that when you don't feel so great in your race. So think of the winter cold as a blessing because, again, physically you're building your base endurance and also your muscle strength because you have to really work a little bit harder just in general, and mentally too. It really does help. In the extremes of weather, whether it be hot or cold, your body has to just work a little bit harder, which makes it stronger. Your heart has to work a little bit harder to get oxygen and blood to your muscles. And then supposedly you'll get fitter with less effort. Your muscles have to adapt to sometimes uneven running conditions, and this can make them more resilient and, again, stronger. I don't know about you, but when it gets cold outside, I just have this urge just to stay home, wrap myself in a blanket, and just eat. Not saying that's a bad thing, but I think getting outside and getting that fresh air and vitamin D and just exercise just helps me just feel mentally happier and just helps me keep moving. I'm not suggesting weight loss or anything like that, but if you are worried about such a thing, then keeping running through the winter will help you stay active and just help you with keeping active. I don't know what else to say. So a few tips for trying to run fast in the winter. First thing is to make sure you properly warm up inside. You need to make sure your body is warm and limber and not going outside and trying to run fast on cold muscles, which could result in a muscle strain or tear or many other things. I find my calves especially get really sore in the winter. I don't know if it's from just running in the snow or uneven terrain, but I find that I really need to kind of make sure that my calves are strong, or just that I need to foam roll and just keep an eye on my calves. And if you need a warm-up routine, I have one created, so feel free to check it up here, or I'll have the link for it in the description below. My second tip is to focus on keeping your extremities, like your hands, your feet, and your head warm. My mom always told me that you lose heat out of your head a lot, so I always want to make sure that my head is covered with a hat or something just to kind of keep my head warm. And especially as, again, our body focuses on keeping our internal organs warm, which I'm very glad it does, we have to kind of make sure that we have protected our extremities, again, like fingers, toes, or ears. I especially want my feet to stay warm because when I'm running and trying to run fast, if my feet are just like these ice blocks, it's gonna be really hard to kind of feel like you can get that turnover. Tip number 3 is if the weather is too terrible out and you have access to a treadmill, maybe consider doing just the workout on the treadmill. And what I mean by that is you can do your warm up and cool down outside, because it doesn't matter what pace you're going, and then just do purely the workout on the treadmill. I personally don't have a treadmill or access to one, but I can really see the benefit if there's a workout you really want to nail the paces on and just outside is just too treacherous or too cold to really get what you want, then the treadmill is a good option. I'm not saying to do every single run on the treadmill because I think, again, there's a beauty of going outside and facing the conditions and just getting fresh air, escaping our apartment, especially during pandemic times. We can't really do much else. So I just think going outside is so beneficial. But if you have a treadmill or have access to one, this is a great option for, you know, some workouts. Ryan Howell on his Instagram was like, anything below, I think it was like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, I'm so bad at calculation. I think it was like -6 Celsius. He's like, dude, on the treadmill. I'm like, for Canadians, or I don't know, people who live in cooler conditions other than Arizona, that would be like every single run. Anyways, I get the point. It is harder to hit your paces, so I understand, but I just thought it was really funny. Tip number 4, and I also stole this from Ryan Howell, and this is chase the sun. If you have to do your workout, try to do it when it's sunny outside. Even if it's the same temperature, I don't know, doing it in the sun just feels so much better than doing it in the dark. And maybe it would even just warm up anyways, but I don't know, just that vitamin D and just that sun really does help. Maybe it's all in my mind, but if you can do it in the sun or in the daytime, try doing your workout when it's sunny out. Run by effort. And I think I probably should have mentioned this one first. Honestly, it's like in the heat. Same thing. If it's super hot out, super cold out, you will not be able to hit your paces, or if you can, that's awesome and that's great, but I really think running by effort gives you the same benefit. You're still putting in the effort, you're still getting stronger, you just might not like what you see on your watch. as long as you don't use the cold as an excuse to be like, oh, it's cold out, I'm just gonna run like this. Who runs like that? But you know what I mean. I want you to still put in the effort and, you know, push yourself as long as it's, you know, safe footing, etc., etc. But just don't give yourself that excuse to kind of wimp out. Still put in the effort as you still get stronger from it. And I'm still saying still. I think this is a sixth tip, but if you can, run half your workout into a headwind, and then on the second half, run into the tailwind. There's a few benefits for this. First off, at the end of your workout, you're probably sweaty, and it won't be nice if you're having to run in a headwind and you could get chilled. So the tailwind will just push you home, which is always a nice feeling. Unfortunately, I was doing a workout where there was just headwind everywhere, but if you can kind of arrange with your route, try to run into the headwind first and then tailwind at the end. And my last tip, and again, there's a lot of other things I could have said, but don't forget to hydrate and fuel. Especially in your longer runs and your longer speed workouts, you need to keep fueling your body. Especially if you're doing a spring marathon, you have to practice the gels and fuels that you're going to take in race day, and you have to practice it. And as we know, our stomach is a muscle, so we have to kind of build and get our stomach adjusted to handling all the fuel and gels that we want to take come race day. This is super important. I know myself personally, I don't always feel like drinking or eating on my long run or just my runs in general. I find it so hard because the water, unless you have an insulated water bottle, it freezes because it's cold outside. But I need to invest maybe in an insulated water bottle that hopefully the water wouldn't freeze inside of it. And yes, I've had gels freeze on my runs, so a couple ideas that has worked for me is keeping my gels in my mittens or my gloves. So it's against my skin and that keeps it warm. Another suggestion that I read from somebody else is that they have like a belt or, you know, any kind of running belt, and they put it directly against their belly underneath their clothing, so your body heat or your core keeps the gels warm and from freezing. Also making sure that your gel is easy to open with like mittens on, no turny tap or turny top, and you can just rip it off is also very important if you don't want to take your gloves off in the freezing cold. But yes, fueling is super important because your body is still using glycogen and energy stores, and maybe even more because it's working a bit harder in the cold. And if you want to feel strong and hit your paces and do your speed workout or your long run, then you have to fuel your body. I know winter running is so tough and it can be brutal sometimes. It's not fun looking at your watch and seeing paces that, oh my goodness, I know I can run faster than this, but I just physically can't, or just feel like I can't do it. It's just really tough mentally. However, for me, I just want to push through this and prove that I'm mentally tough to keep going and get through these really tough workouts, and then I can look back and like, wow, I got through this really hard, really cold workout and I crushed it, and you know, and then that helps me and gives me confidence for my spring race. Just knowing that I've put in the time and effort is a huge confidence booster. I just think in the end, consistency and putting the effort in is the best thing you can do, or the only thing you can do if you want to really crush your spring race, or just, you know, continue training and running and improving and enjoying the sport. Whatever, and you can fill in the blank. You don't have to race, but for me, or in a lot of people, we do spring races. Your body gets stronger every run, and you build upon that consistency and putting those hard efforts in. Despite whatever pace you see on your watch, don't get discouraged, because you are putting the time and you're crushing it, and you're going out there and running or running on the treadmill, whatever you're doing, and you're putting the time in, and those results are going to show in your spring race or when it gets warmer out, and again, you're going to just fly. It's gonna feel so great. I cannot wait. Please be summer or spring soon. How about you? Do you enjoy running in the winter? Do you have any tips? Please share in a comment below. As always, if you like this video, tap that thumbs up button. Stay warm and happy running, and I'll see you next time.